Welcome to the On the Pen, the Weekly Dose podcast, your one-stop shop for obesity medicine news with your host, man on the pen, Dave Knapp. Welcome to On the Pen, the Weekly Dose podcast for this Christmas Eve, December 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Dave Knapp, man on the Manjaro. That's why I'm here. You are on the pen. Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Manjaro, Zepbound, Compound, these pens. That's what we talk about here every week. Welcome to a special live edition of the show. We have got some news to get into in the world of GLP-1s, believe it or not. A lot of news dropping today in the world of GLP-1s because there's no rest for the GLP-1 wicked. And so we're going to get into the news today. We're going to recap what's going on in the news. And then we're going to announce some giveaways because I've been sick the last couple of weeks, the last 10 days or so. And man, my throat is still killing me, but I've got my voice back. And we're going to go through some giveaways that we promised a couple weeks ago on the Pen Live. And then we've got more to give away today because after all, it's Christmas. And I am GLP-1 Santa Claus today. So welcome to the stream. I'd like to say a special welcome to our members of the channel over on YouTube. If you want to participate in the giveaways today, there's a couple of things you need to make sure you're doing. You need to make sure you're watching this on YouTube. You need to make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. And then you need to make sure you're subscribed to email alerts at onthepen.com. The easiest way to do that is go to onthepen.com right now. Scroll to the bottom of the page. And there's a place to get your email. You have to be subscribed to email alerts to win. That puts you in my email cycle, and it lets us communicate via email when you do win, because you got to email me at davidonthepen.com to get your prize. So we've got a lot to talk about today, and I'm so happy to have you all here joining me on this a Monday afternoon. You lose track of the days when you're feeling like I have been feeling for the last few days, but December 23rd, Christmas Eve. This past week, we saw that tirzepatide, Zepbound specifically, was approved by the FDA for the use of the treatment of obstructive sleep apnea in patients with obesity. That is amazing news. Why? Why, Dave? Why is that amazing news? Well, it's amazing news if you live with the chronic condition of sleep apnea, for starters, like me, because in the clinical trial that studied patients with sleep apnea using tirzepatide, there was almost a 50% resolution, right around 50% resolution. I'm talking resolution of sleep apnea. And then most everyone who was on tirzepatide, that's Zepbound, right? Most everyone who was on it with sleep apnea at least went down on their CPAP machine, which is amazing. But 50% resolution, there's never been a medication out there that has been able to resolve sleep apnea. And so that's really great news for people with sleep apnea. But moreover, when we talk about accessibility to these medications, getting insurance to pay for these medications is one of the biggest barriers to access that we have in GLP-1 medications. And so the upside of this is there are no other medications that can resolve sleep apnea. Tirzepatide is the first, and the FDA acknowledged that this week. So if you are fighting prior authorizations for Zepbound and your insurance is saying no, and you are somebody that lives with sleep apnea, it'll probably be some time before the insurance company goes, yeah, that's on our formulary. We already know they're trying to block access to people living with obesity, even if it's on the formulary. But here's what you need to do. You need to have your doctor include this FDA indication in your fight to get your prior authorization or a formulary exclusion. And then when we will see it on formularies, probably, anytime between the first of the year and like June, we saw when tirzepatide was ultimately approved for weight loss. That's Zepbound. But prior to that, it was on the market for a good year and change as Manjaro, the diabetes medication. They're both the same thing, different pens. But we saw some insurance companies wait 6 months to add this to their formulary, even if they did have obesity coverage. So it could be up to 6 months for some insurance companies. Now, I think they're going to play games with it. I think that Eli Lilly was very smart in going after this indication, but I think that it's naive to think that insurance companies won't do everything they can to not pay for this. But the good news is there's no other treatment out there that can actually resolve sleep apnea. Your CPAP machine is a therapy that treats the condition of sleep apnea, but it does not resolve sleep apnea. And so this is a really positive development, and I would expect that over the course of the next 6 months, we will see expanded access. Now, if you're somebody who is on Medicare, the reason that we get excited about the sleep apnea indication is what we call a backdoor indication. Right now, even with some of the moves by the current administration, everything's up in the air right now. But as far as today sits, it is actually illegal for Medicare to cover anti-obesity medications. And the government's been doing a lot to try to correct this, but the government does not move very quickly. And so in that vein, we look for backdoor indications, non-obesity indications. And this sleep apnea indication would be just that, where I'm imagining within about the next 4 to 8 weeks, we'll see an announcement from Medicare that certain Part D plans will start to include Zepbound as a treatment for those living with sleep apnea who rely on Medicare for access to their care. So that's really great news as far as sleep apnea goes. Now, moving along in some really interesting news today, we saw expanded accessibility to liraglutide. Now, liraglutide is the active ingredient in Saxenda and Victoza, one of the OG GLP-1s. It's a GLP-1 analog, so it mimics GLP-1. It's a once daily shot. And of course, Victoza is the diabetes indication of liraglutide, and Saxenda is the chronic weight management indication of liraglutide. There had been a couple of companies that have been awarded generics, but preliminarily, the first company that was awarded a outright generic ability to manufacture generic versions of liraglutide was actually Teva Pharmaceuticals. And today we learned that a second company was given the ability to make generic liraglutide, and that I'm going to lose all of a sudden. I'm blanking on the name. It's like Hikma, I think is the name. Hikma Pharmaceuticals was granted the ability to make generic liraglutide. Now, right now, generic liraglutide, again, not quite as effective as the current versions of GLP-1s that are on the market, but effective nonetheless. And in its day, was the most effective treatment by far. It is a GLP-1 analog. It's a once daily. But right now we see the generic version of this medication being offered at around $350 a month. And so a second company manufacturing a generic version of this, you might see that drop below $300, maybe even at around $250. When will it hit the market? That's always the big question. I think by the end of the first quarter of 2025, I think we will see this launch in the United States, and price pressure will be put downward on generic versions of liraglutide. So if anybody is in maintenance, or if anybody is just looking to get on a GLP-1, but you don't have great access, generic liraglutide may be a great way to look. And a second company was added today. And so that's breaking news. That's literally within the last hour that news has broken. Other breaking news today, and we dropped a article at onthepen.com. That's why you have to be subscribed to email updates. You're just going to get that information more quickly, easier, and right to your inbox. You never know with the algorithm on YouTube or TikTok or wherever is actually going to favor the content that we put out. But when we put out an email, it goes straight to your inbox. And today's news had to do with the Eli Lilly lawsuit that started back in October of 2023. And we actually did a video on this on TikTok. It is the most seen video, I believe, of all the videos that we've ever done on TikTok. I believe over 250,000 views this video has. And essentially what happened back in 2023 is the FDA, or excuse me, Eli Lilly found a few companies, research grade companies, that were selling versions of tirzepatide using shady branding, sort of misleading people to think that they were Mounjaro or they were Zepbound. And at that time, I guess October, it would have just been Mounjaro, but basically misleading people who were buying these medications to think that they were the branded version. And so they went after 5 or 6 different companies and filed a complaint with the International Trade Commission. And in their complaint, they basically said that, listen, there's really sketchy versions calling themselves our branded medications going out there. And what we have found, Lilly found this in their own investigation, they found versions of these coming into the United States in containers buried underneath T-shirts, right? Like, so really sketchy, like being hidden under T-shirts. They found that when they tested some of this stuff, some of these gray market peptides included nothing but actual sugar water. And so very sketchy stuff they found. And so they reported this all in a complaint to the International Trade Commission. And the ruling came down on that today, that unauthorized copies of tirzepatide will face additional scrutiny when they're coming into import in the United States. Now, this should not affect legal versions of tirzepatide, but for the gray market of tirzepatide, it just changed in a really big way, because now the importing of the gray market stuff will face additional scrutiny, which in my opinion is a good thing, because if there are people injecting stuff that is not meant for human consumption, it's just that. It's not meant for human consumption. So when you actually ingest this stuff into your body, you're taking a great risk. You're taking a massive risk. And the provider of this chemical has absolved themselves of any sort of recourse because they've told you it's not for human consumption. So they could literally be importing anything. And anecdotally, it seems like people have done fairly well on these, but the issue is that these are oftentimes not even completely clinically tested molecules. You can see cagrilintide, you can see retatrutide available on these gray markets. And the issue is they haven't even finished clinical trials. With cagrilintide specifically, there are issues with how it is held once it is reconstituted, and the byproducts of the pH levels not being held properly with cagrilintide can actually cause severe neurological impairment. So we're not talking about fun and games here. We're not talking about vitamins here that can are fairly innocuous. We're talking about something you're injecting directly into your bloodstream that can cause major issues. So it is a move towards patient safety, yes. But here's my issue, and we covered this at On the Pen. In Lilly's press release, they would have you believe that these unscrupulous sources of tirzepatide are tantamount to the same thing you're getting when you get compounded versions prescribed by your doctor and fulfilled by a 503B compound pharmacy, which is subject to the current goods and manufacturing process overseen by the FDA. This muddying of the waters, this intentional muddying of the waters by Eli Lilly here is damaging, in my opinion, damaging to their reputation, because it's very apparent what they're doing here. And they're trying to lump everything into one category as if they are all created equal. They are not. This is extremely disingenuous on Eli Lilly's part and extremely disappointing. However, I do believe that the net to this action by Eli Lilly is a net positive for patients, because it's only a matter of time before people start to really harm themselves, or bad actors get into the game and all of a sudden you're ingesting something that takes your life. And that is really, I think, the concern with these forms of medications, that they're extremely unregulated. So positive for patients, certainly, but Eli Lilly really tipped their hand at their desire to lump these all together, which I think is extremely disingenuous to people and extremely disappointing, obviously, to say the least. Now on to our last bit of news here, which has to do with CagriSema. CagriSema being the next medication that will hit the market likely in early 2026. So this would be an interesting option for people who have not responded as well to the current levels of medications that are on the market. cagrilintide is a amylin agonist. And so what Novo Nordisk did is they took this amylin agonist, which is a totally different pathway than exists on the market currently, and they combined it with semaglutide, which is the active ingredient in Ozempic and the active ingredient in Wegovy. And so they add cagrilintide. Now, they had some top-line data released this past week. Novo Nordisk had been pumping for months that they thought that the top-line data from this latest trial would actually show a 25% weight loss. And when the data came in last week, it actually came in at 22.7, which was just marginally more than tirzepatide. Now, this was billed as a tirzepatide competitor, which of course it definitely is, but Novo Nordisk was also hoping that it would compete with retatrutide, which is in earlier stages showing that it should very easily hit that 25% target. Now, the 22.7 was a huge letdown, and we made a video about it and we talked about it here, and it was such a letdown for investors that actually Novo Nordisk stock, if you're somebody who holds a little bit of Novo Nordisk stock, it went down as much as 24% on Friday. 24%. That is a massive hit to any stock. And so you can see the investors were disappointed too. But we dug into the numbers a little bit more over the weekend and dug into the specific setup of this trial. And it was a little interesting how they set it up. Now, if you think about clinical trials for the Surmount trials that took place for tirzepatide, the Surmount trials actually showed the 22.5% weight loss, but there was a forced dose escalation in those clinical trials, meaning if you were losing at 2.5 milligrams of Zepbound and still managing it well, the next month you worked up to 5 milligrams, regardless of whether you were still losing at the 2.5 milligram dose, and so on and so on. You titrated up. You had to titrate up. This CagriSema trial was a little bit different in that you did not have to titrate up. So only 57% reached the max dose of CagriSema in this trial. And that's pretty significant because that means that they weren't forced to dose escalate. So what we don't know from this data is were people actually quitting this clinical trial because the side effects were so bad, or sorry, were they actually not dosing up? Were they not dosing up as quick because of side effects or because the weight loss was so effective that they no longer needed to lose and they were maintaining at the dose that they were on? So there are some questions because if they were forced to titrate up, I think it would have impacted a couple things. First of all, I think we would have seen a larger number, probably closer to 25%, maybe more, if all 100% of trial participants had to dose up to that top dose. The other thing that we would have likely seen is dropouts, a higher dropout rate, which I think is what Novo Nordisk was trying to avoid here. They actually did the same thing with their SELECT trials for Wegovy. Their SELECT trials were actually measuring outcomes for cardiovascular events for people with heart failure. And in that trial, they did the same thing, whereas they wanted to get you to the highest tolerated dose of semaglutide and stay there because they wanted you to stay in the trial. That was the main thing. They wanted you to stay in the trial because the SELECT trials for heart failure was a long study because they're measuring cardiovascular outcomes, meaning that the longer they can run that trial, the better data they're going to have on what your long-term outcome is using semaglutide to treat heart failure. Now, they sort of modeled this study in a way similarly with CagriSema in that you did not have to max out on the dose. And so if they did, is it a fair comparison to compare it to tirzepatide, which was a forced dose escalation? So at a minimum, there are some questions outstanding about CagriSema, and I think we're hyper-focused on the weight loss number as investors. Investors are hyper-focused on this weight loss number, which is fair for investors because they're comparing it to the stuff that's in the pipeline. Like, is it going to be better than Miractide? Is it going to be better than VK2735? Is it going to be better than retatrutide? And so it seems to be a metric that is used most commonly because it's the easiest one to measure. Easy, fast, down and dirty % of body weight loss. But we know that there are so many more benefits to these drugs. And I do believe that what we're seeing here is a sort of hyper focus on weight loss when I think we should probably be paying attention to other things. And probably this was a massive overreaction by the markets. Hopefully, if you're an investor in Novo Nordisk, which I am a small investor in Novo Nordisk, hopefully we see this sort of come back down to earth here in the next few weeks, because I do believe that this is a little premature reaction to CagriSema. Now, that's what we have for the news this week. I hope that you enjoyed the news, and we've got some fun stuff to get to. So I want to do a little bit more chat interactions. Thank you for hanging out with me today. We've got some giveaways to focus in on, because it is Christmas season, and we actually have some giveaways that we've been promising on this channel. I want to announce a couple of giveaways from On the Pen Live a couple of weeks ago. So a couple of weeks ago, we gave away a bottle of Can't Wait, and we gave away a couple bottles of the Build the Body protein dressing. So we're going to start with this one here. The Build the Body protein dressing is a really interesting formulation of salad dressing from our friends at Build the Body. Their CEO, DJ, he had his grandpa was developing some salad dressing, and he unfortunately passed away. And DJ set out to make a salad dressing that had the amount of protein per serving that actually rivaled the amount of protein in an egg. And so here's the deal. He got this salad dressing to 8 grams of protein per dressing. So we're going to talk a lot about this in the giveaways today, because getting your protein in is a very important thing on a GLP-1 medication to preserve muscle mass, improve satiety. There are so many things, especially with women who can deal with hair loss. I'm dealing with it, but it turns out protein does not help that for me. But for women who get on a GLP-1 and lose hair loss, a lot of it comes down to protein intake, is what the experts say. So when you talk about getting enough protein in a day, Build the Body salad dressing, a lot of us eat a lot of salads. Build the Body protein dressing actually packs more protein in per 2 tablespoon serving than is in an egg. And so these are actually really amazing salad dressings. 70 calories per serving for the Caesar dressing, which is my favorite. The ranch dressing has 80 calories per serving, but still maintains that 8 grams of protein. This one we're giving away this week to Karen Gatz. So Karen, who is a follower of On the Pen, gets the chance to try these. I just need an email to david@onthepen.com, and you need to make sure you sign up for email alerts. The second giveaway again, this is from the last live, and we're going to do a couple more giveaways. So stay with me here and make sure you're watching. Make sure you're watching on YouTube and commenting on YouTube. Make sure you're also subscribed to email alerts at onthepen.com. So those are the 2 qualifications. You got to comment here, you got to subscribe here on YouTube, and you have to sign up for email alerts. So the second thing was a bottle of Can't Wait, and these have been the coveted thing. This is what I introduced a couple months ago that has really supercharged my weight loss with a GLP-1 medication. Now, Can't Wait is a peptide called DNF10, combined with a couple other ingredients, Garcinia cambogia and D-ribose, in a 2 times a day pill that I take both of them every morning on an empty stomach. Consult your doctor before you try anything like this, but this has been a game changer. Even in real life, people are like, Dave, you're losing weight. And honestly, for me, the addition of Can't Wait, coupled with probably reducing my carbohydrates at the same time, I was doing a lot of things at the same time, but introducing this Can't Wait, I will not go without this now. If you want to check it out, the link is in my bio. Use code OTP10. This is a game changer. I was doing a deep dive on peptides, and why do peptides come out as pharmaceutical drugs and not just like a vitamin? These are called nutraceuticals. And that's what led me to DNF10. And there are some great studies on DNF10. The patent's held by a company called Phytexia, and you can search it up. I'll add it to the description after this is live. But this was a deep dive in patents on peptides. And so the peptide for Ozempic semaglutide is developed by yeast, a yeast process where they actually extract the proteins from a yeast. This is the same thing, and it's a small chain of peptides, so small chain of amino acids. So it's orally bioavailable, and this stuff is amazing. This is my own personal experience with it. You should always talk to a doctor. But the winner of Can't Wait this week is Matt G. So holler, Matt G. Congratulations. Send me an email to davidonthepen.com and I will send you out your bottle of Can't Wait. So those are the 2 giveaways from last week. Now we do have, I'm going to put these away so I don't give them away twice. Unless you've been living under a GLP-1, congratulations, Matt. Unless you've been living under a GLP-1 rock, you would know that we released a book, Decoding GLP-1, a guide for friends and family on the pen. I want to read you today because we're going to give away a author's copy proof. There are some mistakes in this, but you're going to get an author's copy proof. This is a collector's item, right? And I'm going to autograph it and write a letter inside this. So this is going to be a giveaway today on the GLP-1. Decoding GLP-1 is the name of the book. It's got everything in here to get you started. But I want to read you a Amazon review that I received today, which really perfectly encapsulates the heart behind why I wrote this book. And I'm going to read this to you. Hopefully you'll stay with me, and then hopefully you'll check it out. Links in the description, or just go to Amazon and type in On the Pen book. You'll find this at Amazon, On the Pen book. There's a special price now through Christmas on this. It's going to go back up after Christmas, so get your copies now. But I want to read this to you. I have never had a real weight struggle. Just vanity weight I could manage with diet and exercise. So I didn't fully understand the impact of my words and attitudes had on my son, who did as a teen and still does as an adult. Dave's book helped me to be more empathetic towards him and grateful for these medications that are changing the lives of so many. GLP-1 meds aren't just helping people look and feel good. They are renewing hope for a longer, more fulfilling life. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your heart and knowledge, Dave. This is the reason that I wrote this book. This review is the reason that I wrote this book. And if someone you know in your life would benefit from that, please check this out. There's, like I said, a special price on this now through Thursday. Or is Thursday Christmas? I'm losing track. Now through Christmas. After that, it'll go back up. There is a Kindle version, and there is a book version, a paperback book version, and then we will be releasing a Audible version of this book. So please, please, please check it out. We have topped the charts. It's been out for just under 2 weeks. We've topped the charts on the diabetes category over the obesity code, which is an amazing book. But we've actually beaten out Dr. Jason Fung probably 3 or 5 out of the days that this has been on. So help us stay on top of the charts. That's really important. Today is the day to go get that book. Now, if you want to win this copy here, and I will sign it, like I said, if you want to win this copy after this book is after this video is live, simply come back and put the book emoji and pick the words "pick me" in the comments, and then somebody will win this. Again, you have to be subscribed to email alerts. You have to be subscribed to the YouTube channel and comment after this video is live on YouTube. Everybody understand? Hopefully that's clear as mud to everyone. So there's the book. That's the first giveaway today. The second giveaway is something that I'm really excited about because we haven't partnered with these. Now, one of the most important things about the journey with GLP-1s is for some people who just can't get their calories in to somehow get their protein in. And there has been a line of food items that I had bought off Amazon, and I found out that they're actually a company that is actually pretty well represented within the GLP community. So they have offered a special On the Pen bundle. They said, tell us what your favorite ones are that you order, and we'll send you some to give away to your community, because we've reached out to a few companies and said, hey, we want to do some giveaways before Christmas. It's Christmas time. Like, we're all adults, so we all give away stuff constantly. That's what we do when we're adults. I have 4 kids. I've spent a lot of money on Christmas. But everybody likes to receive something too. And so I wanted to make sure that we had some giveaways. BIOCARE was willing to send some stuff. So I want to tell you what this is. This is a special, and this bundle is available. If you go to the link in the description of this video on YouTube, this bundle is available for 15% off. They're offering this bundle that we're talking about here for 15% off if you watch On the Pen. So just simply follow the link in the description of this video. But the first thing I want to tell you about is my favorite thing, because these ones are super, super delicious. So we got 15 grams of protein, 19 vitamins and mineral, 4 grams of fiber, 160 calories, 5 grams of fat, 18 grams of carbs, 4 grams of sugar with 2 grams of sugar alcohol. So it's a great way to get your protein in. These are called chocolate caramel bars, and these things are to die for. These things are amazing. So that's the first thing it's going to include. And I'm not much of a chocolate guy. I'm not much of a sweets guy, but those things are super, super, super good. The second thing that they threw in here was the high protein cheddar cheese double bite snacks. These are super good too. So again, these are the things that I order from BIOCARE. I like to have these on hand. These are great because they have 17 grams of carbs, 130 calories, and you're going to get 10 grams of protein in here. Now, I'm not somebody who struggles to get my calories in or my protein, but I like to have snacky things on hand. And if I do have snacky things on hand, I need to make sure that they have good protein in them. BIOCARE is throwing this in here too. So this is the On the Pen bundle, cheddar cheese double bites. So that's going in there too. And then they have a strawberries and cream dietary beverage. This is the exciting part. Okay. This is actually specially formulated for people on GLP-1 medication. So it's for people using GLP-1 medications. Why is that? Well, because they have a whole bunch of ingredients. You can pause this video and see all the ingredients that are super helpful in the journey, like the things that we've talked about many, many times on this channel, like your sodium, your potassium, your chromium, your manganese, a lot of really, really good things in here. There's some gut guard in there, digestive enzymes, really good things to help with your digestion and hopefully to settle out your DPP-4 in your gut too. Lots of really good things. So this is the strawberries and cream. They have a chocolate version too, but I'm more of a strawberries and cream guy, especially if you got the chocolate in the bar. So these are really, really amazing too. Again, BIOCARE was super kind to just offer this stuff as a giveaway. And if you're interested in buying that, you can support them at the link in the description of this video. So check out BIOCARE. Really good people to deal with. These are developed by doctors. They are approved by doctors. So there's a whole medical team behind this. So it's not just like some dude coming up with an opportunistic thing. They've been around for a long, long time. And they also threw in an electric frother and mixer. So if you put the words BIOCARE in the chat with the little cheese emoji, put the cheese emoji first and then the word BIOCARE. If you do that, you will be entered in to win this. We'll announce this in the coming weeks, but I will make sure that I reply to your comment and let you know you won. And then you'll have to email me at davidonthepen.com. Make sure you're subscribed to email alerts. Again, this is all from YouTube. So if you're not watching on YouTube, go to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe first and then drop a comment in the video after this video posts. After this video posts is the operative word. Now, the last giveaway that we have today, which I'm super excited about, we've been giving away the Can't Wait, right? The Can't Wait is the DNF10 that we talked about earlier. We don't have any more of those to give away, but we do have BPC 157. Now, this is not a peptide that we've talked a ton about here, but BPC 157 is really, really amazing stuff. Like the DNF10, you got to take it for a little bit to notice the difference. But basically what BPC, people are always like, what does it do? Well, it supercharges healing. That's what it's known to do. It boosts the repair crew in your body. Inside your body, you have a whole bunch of things that are responsible for repairing tissue, reducing inflammation. This is supportive of all of that. So think of your blood as the delivery truck that brings nutrients and oxygen to a damaged area. BPC 157 actually helps your body send more blood to where it's needed so things heal faster. And so when you talk about reducing inflammation and healing injuries, BPC 157 is an amazing peptide. Like, again, these are peptides, long chains of amino acids. These are peptides too. This is a peptide too. These just happen to be over-the-counter, bioavailable, because they're short chains of amino acids. So you can take these orally from our friends at Integrated Peptides. I'm not sure what this costs on their website, but you know that you're getting a good deal here with BPC 157. So if you're interested in getting entered for this, in the comments of this video after it posts, put BPC 157 with the little pill emoji. And so then I'll know that you are interested. But again, make sure you're posting it on YouTube. Make sure you're posting it after this video goes live, so that it's actually in the comments and not in the chat of the live stream. And then make sure you're signed up for email alerts at dave@onthepen.com. So those are our giveaways today. I'm going to set these aside because I got to remember these are the things we're giving away. And we will announce those on the next live that we do. We'll announce the winners here. But I will comment back to you on your post, and I will let you know there that you can send me an email if you win also. That's probably the best way. Just pay attention to your comments. So that's it. That's what we got. Hopefully this was a fun live for you. Hopefully we learned a little bit at the beginning and hopefully got you excited with some giveaway stuff. Listen, my hope and my prayer for you this holiday season is that you're able to stop, that you're able to reflect, that you're able to enjoy your family, that you're able to really savor the real beauty of this season, because what the season comes down to is togetherness. We want to be with the people that matter the most to us, because that is just a shadow of what the future in heaven is for us. It's just a shadow of the wholeness that we will all someday feel when we leave this broken world, which I think that all of us can agree is ever more broken. So I thank you all for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the holiday season, however you celebrate, with whomever you celebrate. I hope that it's a good one for you. I know it will be for me because I'll be surrounded by the people that matter the most to me. I hope that you enjoyed this video today. And now, before Christmas, a final blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you, cause his face to shine upon you, and be so gracious to you. Until we do this again, thank you for being here with me on this fun live stream this afternoon. Make sure you follow, hit all the buttons, and we'll catch you on the next one. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you.